bigger, better, stronger, power. I got that power.
Hello again, Nashville Software School students. This video is going to talk to you about the augmented IIFE pattern. This is just an extension of the IIFE pattern, and all you're going to be learning to do is passing one IIFE to another one and augmenting it by adding more properties. So I'm starting off with a fairly simplistic IIFE here, my solar system IIFE. I've got some private variables: planets, spacecraft, planets landed on. I push some planets into that array, and here's my return object. Okay, here's that object again that's going to be solar system. The solar system will be this object, and it's got a bunch of key value pairs on it. Get planets, add spacecraft, get spacecraft, set planets landed on it, and get planets landed. What I want to do to start making my application a little bit more flexible and also more maintainable, I'm going to start splitting these splitting this one IIFE into two IIFEs, where it all ends up being on the same exact object. Okay, it will continue to use solar system, but I'm going to break it up into multiple files. Each one of these files is going to do something very specific. It's going to add specific functionality to that solar system object, and that'll make it more maintainable in the future because, obviously the solar system thing is going to take off, going to have a huge development team, and then, one developer will be working on one file, and one developer will be working on a different file depending on the needs, instead of everybody working on one single file. And this has a lot to do with code maintenance as well. So right now, this IIFE handles the number of planets, basically just dealing with planets, and it deals with spacecraft. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the spacecraft section and I'm going to move it into this other file that I've created here called Solar System Spacecraft. And it's actually really easy to do. What I'm going to do is just copy everything from this one and paste it here and rip out everything that has to do with planets. Okay. Right, so now I've got an IIFE that just deals with spacecraft in the solar system. I still am using solar system here, okay? We're going to be augmenting this object. Not replacing it, not redefining it, but augmenting it. All right, so from this one, I'm going to remove spacecraft. So this is just going to deal with planets. Okay, planets and planets landed on. Right, two different IIFEs, both dealing with very specific things. One with planets, one with spacecraft. So in my index, change the name of this to solar system spacecraft. All right, so at the most simplistic level, the order matters here. And I'll show you why. So I'm including solar system first. Basically, that's establishing this object here that will be solar system. Okay, we're going to define that first. We're returning a literal object that has key value pairs on it. So right here is where we're defining what solar system is. So then we want to augment it. So let me show you how to augment this in the solar system spacecraft. Okay, so again, this object here is what is solar system. So to augment that, basically we're going to just be adding on key value pairs to an object, because that's what solar system is right now. It's an object. We're going to add more key value pairs to it. So we need to take the original one, the solar system that is defined in the first JavaScript file, and we need to pass it in to this IIFE function. So if we're going to be immediately invoking this function here, okay, there's our parentheses to immediately invoke the function. Here's the argument, the input for our function. So if our function needs input, we need to define an argument. I'll just call this old solar system. Okay. Doesn't matter what I call this. Okay. The name of a variable is irrelevant. It's what it stores. Now, I know it's going to be storing the solar system object that I created in the first JavaScript file. So I'm calling mine old solar system. It gives another developer a little hint as to what this is. All right. So in this one, we're just dealing with spacecraft. So what do? I've got that private variable of active spacecraft, And right now, I'm returning, again, a literal object out of this function, okay? So what this does in this case, solar system becomes this object and this object only. All of the stuff that we defined over here in the original solar system is now gone because we're returning this exact value. For example, if I had returned 8, solar system would be 8. How I defined it previously is irrelevant. I have now completely redefined it, and its original value is gone. So we don't want to return a brand new object out of here. What we want to do, since we passed in input, okay, old solar system has get planets and set planets and get planets on it, or planets landed on. We want to augment this object right here. Remember, this are the same thing. It's the old solar system. So let's augment it. And we can just use dot notation for this now. Old solar system dot add spacecraft. So I've now added another key value pair onto solar system. And then augment it with get spacecraft. Okay. These have to be function expressions now because we're not defining a literal object. Okay, so that original solar system in here is passed here and up to here. Then we immediately add 2 new keys on it. Add spacecraft and get spacecraft. Okay, so now that we've augmented the old one, we just simply have to return it. Remember, this return statement here is what defines what solar system is going to be. There we go. Return old solar system. Get this up and running. There we go. Ooh, that took forever. All right. All right, so now I've defined it. So what we're going to do here is this original one. Here's this solar system. I'm going to console log this here. I'll call this the first solar system. This is going to be fun. Might warp your brains a little bit. So at this point, this all code has been run and solar system has been defined. Okay, as an object with these key value pairs. Here, look. There it is. First solar system. What? Wait a minute. It should only have get planets, set planets on, landed on, and get planets landed on. I'm console logging right here. Okay? You can see I've got solar system defined first, and at this point in time, when the JavaScript executes this line of code, 26, it should only have these 3 keys on it. But look at what's on here. It's got the spacecraft stuff too. Oh, wrong one. It's spacecraft. That's insane. How does it have these new keys that we added on later, okay, after we logged it, and we come back to the browser and it has things that got added on after we told it to log to the browser console with the original stuff on it? Well, unfortunately, that's how Chrome works. What it's actually logging here is a reference. Now, I've talked to you about this in class. If I haven't yet, come and talk to me about it, and I can go into further detail. But let's go through this. This variable here, okay, it is a reference to this object in memory. Remember, variables are simply labels. This is a label for this object that gets created in memory. When we include it here, okay, this solar system, this is a label pointing to that object in memory. This variable is a label pointing to that object in memory, as well as this, These are all labels that point to an object that is sitting in your memory. Okay? And it's passed around by reference. Okay? We're not literally taking this object, taking its value, and applying a new label to it, and then taking its value again and applying a new label to it. These are literally just pointers pointing to the same. You got the moon. There's only one moon, and you can fire as many lasers at it as you want. So you got 8 lasers on Earth that are like firing at the moon. They're not taking copies of the moon. There are not 8 moons being fired at. There's all one moon. Think of the lasers as the labels here, are variables. They're all pointing at one moon. They're all pointing at one single object. It's simply a reference. So by the time you get over here, what has happened is JavaScript has continued to execute. And by the time you've gotten here and expand this object, JavaScript has added these 2 new properties on here. And that's why you see them showing up in your console. So I point this out for a reason, because it confuses a lot of students. You want to console log something at a specific point in the execution of your code, and yet you go over here and you're like, okay, this isn't what I'm expecting. There's only supposed to be 3 properties. I see 5. What the heck's going on? So this is the augmented pattern. Define it in the first one. You return a literal object. You create a new IIFE over here. You pass the original one in. That becomes an argument to this function, and you augment it with new key value pairs and return it right back out again. And we have now augmented it, one single variable on the global scope, and now have made it easier for multiple developers in a team to work on functionality, add features, modify features by splitting this up into multiple JavaScript files, where one single JavaScript file does one specific feature. This one is going to deal with planets. This one is going to deal with spacecraft. This one is going to deal with asteroids. Another one's going to deal with dwarf planets, whatever. It's one single concept, and it's only responsibility. So hopefully that helps you understand the augmented pattern a little bit. So it's really just passing in one value in over and over again, like an assembly line. You continue to augment it, and they're all going to look exactly like this when you augment that original IIFE. All right, have a good day.